I still remember the moment everything changed. The morning sunlight was barely touching the edges of our small town, but inside my chest, a storm was already forming. I didn't know why at the time, I just felt it, like something was about to break, something I'd trusted for far too long. My name is Maya, and this is the story of how someone I loved, someone I trusted completely, shattered that trust without hesitation, and how the secret she hid for years became the very thing that exposed her in front of everyone. It all began on an ordinary Thursday. I was cleaning out the back room of the cafe my family owned, a cozy place known for warm pastries and even warmer gossip. My older sister, Lena, usually opened the shop with me. She was the kind of person people naturally adored, confident, charming, always knowing the right words to say. But that day, she didn't show up. At first, I didn't think much of it. Maybe she overslept again. Maybe she needed a break. Maybe she had one of those headaches she complained about just to get out of morning shifts. I didn't know then that this one absence was the beginning of everything unraveling. As I moved a heavy box of old records, something slipped free and hit the floor with a soft thud. A small, leather-bound notebook. A notebook I had never seen before. It looked old, worn, used often, the kind of item someone held close. I picked it up instinctively, and for a moment, I felt a strange chill travel up my spine. I almost put it back, almost convinced myself that whatever was inside wasn't meant for me. But curiosity, especially the kind whispered by doubt, is hard to silence. When I opened the first page, my breath caught. There it was, my name, written in Lena's handwriting, underlined twice. I didn't understand. Why would she have a notebook with my name on the front page? The next line answered the question I didn't know I was asking. If Maya ever finds out, everything falls apart. My heart thudded so loudly I could hear it echo in my ears. Everything falls apart? Finds out what? I flipped through more pages, confusion turning into something heavier, something sharp. The entries weren't just diary notes. They were plans, discussions, thoughts she should never have written down. Plans about the cafe. Plans about our parents. Plans about me. Lines crossed out, rewritten, then underlined again. She trusts me too much. I can't let her take what should be mine. The inheritance is meant for me, not her. I froze. Inheritance? Our parents hadn't even retired yet. There was no inheritance to discuss. Nothing had been promised to anyone. So why was Lena planning something behind my back? My hands trembled as I turned another page. This time, it wasn't handwriting. It was a printed document, folded and tucked neatly into the notebook. When I unfolded it, my stomach dropped. It was a contract transferring ownership of the cafe to Lena alone. Except the signature line for my name, the one she needed, was blank. The document was dated months ago. Months. That was when realization hit me like cold water. Lena had been planning to cut me out slowly, quietly, make me irrelevant, make me unnecessary, remove me from everything our parents built. And the way she wrote about me, it wasn't just betrayal. It was strategy, a strategic betrayal. My breath shook as I put the notebook down. I couldn't stop staring at it, this little object filled with years of secrets, years of thoughts she'd never spoken aloud, thoughts she didn't want anyone to see, especially me. But the real twist didn't come from the notebook. It came from the sound of the back door creaking open. Maya? Her voice, calm, familiar, the same voice that once told me she'd always have my back. I spun around, the notebook still in my hand. Lena froze when she saw it. Her eyes widened, just enough for me to notice, not enough for her to lose control. For a full second, neither of us spoke. Then she smiled, a soft, practiced smile. I see you found that. That. As if it was nothing, as if it didn't hold the blueprint for betraying me. What is this, Lena? I demanded, though my voice came out softer than I intended. A misunderstanding, old thoughts, nothing serious. But her eyes didn't match her voice. Behind them, panic flickered like a shadow waiting for a crack. Old thoughts? I echoed. You were planning to take everything. She stepped closer. Maya, listen. You always overthink. No, I whispered, stepping back. Not this. Not anymore. Her jaw tightened. If you walk out of this room, you'll ruin everything. Everything? The word kept repeating in my mind. Everything for who? Everything she wanted? Everything she thought she deserved? And then a question slipped out before I could stop it. What else have you been hiding from me? Her jaw tightened. That was my answer. I knew right then that the notebook wasn't the whole story. It was just the beginning, the first loose thread in a much larger secret she'd been weaving for years. And I wasn't going to let it stay hidden. Not anymore. For the first time in my life, I saw Lena not as my sister, but as someone who had chosen a path without me, someone who thought I'd stay blind forever. But she was wrong. This time, I wasn't walking away. This time, I was going to expose the truth she guarded so carefully, the truth she feared the most. And once it came out, her world, not mine, would fall apart. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Lena's face, that flicker of panic she tried to hide when she realized her secret notebook wasn't a secret anymore. For years, I believed she was the one person who understood me, the one person who would never turn against me. But now I knew the truth. She had been building a future without me, and hoping I'd never notice. By morning, the weight in my chest hadn't faded. If anything, it had grown heavier. I kept replaying her words. If you walk out of this room, you'll ruin everything. Everything for her, maybe. But for me, walking away was the first real step toward seeing the truth. Still, a small part of me hoped it was all a misunderstanding. Sisters fight. Sisters get jealous. Sisters say things they don't mean. But sisters don't create secret contracts to take ownership of a family business. Sisters don't write entire plans on how to push you out of your own life. That morning at the cafe, customers drifted in and out, unaware that behind the counter, my entire world was cracking. My parents were out for the week visiting relatives, and without them, the cafe felt strangely empty, like it belonged to no one. Or maybe, like it belonged to someone who was already trying to claim it. Lena walked in late, acting as if nothing had happened the day before. She didn't even look at me at first, just tied her apron, fixed her hair, and stepped behind the counter. "Morning," she said casually. I didn't answer. She finally turned her head. Her expression didn't shift, but her eyes narrowed just a little, not enough for someone else to see, but enough for me to understand. She wasn't done hiding things. She was just switching strategies. "You can't avoid me forever," she said under her breath. "I'm not avoiding you. I'm waiting for the truth." She gave a quiet sigh, the kind she used when she was pretending to be patient. "Maya, you found something that didn't concern you. Let it go." Let it go. Those words stabbed deeper than she probably meant them to. For her, letting go meant staying silent. For me, it meant giving her the power to erase me. "No," I said firmly. "Not this time." Her jaw clenched, but she didn't argue. Arguing would make her look guilty. Instead, she changed tactics. "You're tired," she said softly. "You're stressed. You misread a few notes. That contract wasn't even finished. You're blowing things out of proportion." But I remembered every word I read in that notebook, every sentence with my name, every plan she outlined. "You wrote that if I found out, everything would fall apart," I said. "Your exact words." She didn't respond. That wasn't a misunderstanding. That was the truth. Her smile vanished entirely. For a moment, just a moment, I saw the real Lena, the version she never showed the world, cold, calculated, already planning her next move. "Let's talk later," she said finally, stepping away to take a customer's order. But talking was her distraction, not her solution. I needed answers, and she wasn't going to give them freely. Around noon, someone unexpectedly walked in. Daniel, an old family friend. He used to work with our parents when the cafe first opened, but he'd moved to a different town years ago. I hadn't seen him in forever. He walked straight to me with the warm smile he always had. "Still running this place better than everyone else, I see," he joked. Before I could respond, Lena rushed over. "Daniel, what are you doing here?" Something about her tone made me look up. She sounded nervous. Daniel shrugged. "I was in town. Thought I'd stop by and say hello. Check in on the place." Lena's smile trembled. "Everything is great. Perfect, actually." Daniel glanced between us, noticing the tension instantly. He lowered his voice. "I heard your parents might be retiring soon. Big changes coming?" Lena stiffened before she replied. "Nothing's decided yet." But the look she gave him, it wasn't annoyance. It was fear. That was the moment I realized something important. Daniel knew something. Maybe not everything, but enough to make Lena uncomfortable. He turned to me. "Maya, you okay? You look like you have something on your mind." Before I could speak, Lena cut in. "She's fine, just tired." The way she said it made my hands curl into fists. Daniel raised an eyebrow. "You sure?" I met his eyes. "Actually, I do have questions." Lena shot me a warning look, a sharp, silent one that begged me not to speak. But Daniel waited patiently, and that's when an idea began forming in my mind. Something that could unravel the truth faster than anything else. "Daniel," I began slowly, "do you know anything about new contracts or ownership changes for the cafe?" Lena inhaled sharply. It was small, subtle, but I caught it. Daniel frowned. "Ownership changes? No, that should go through your parents." He looked at Lena. She looked away. Something cold settled in my stomach. "Did someone show you papers?" Daniel asked, suspicious. I hesitated. I found something that didn't look right. Daniel's expression darkened. Lena stepped between us. "It was nothing. A mix-up. Old drafts." But Daniel wasn't convinced, and neither was I. "Maybe we should talk privately later," he whispered to me. I nodded. Lena noticed, and for the first time, she didn't bother hiding her reaction. Anger flickered through her eyes, not loud or violent, but quiet and dangerous. The kind of anger that comes from losing control. Small lies, big patterns. For the rest of the day, Lena was too calm, too controlled, too deliberate in everything she did. That's how she behaved when she was hiding something. I'd seen it before in small moments, when she lied about borrowing money, when she hid mistakes, when she changed stories depending on who she was talking to. Small lies. But now I wondered how many small lies had created this much bigger one. When the cafe closed, she pulled me aside. "We need to talk," she said flatly. "Then talk." Her eyes softened,
but the softness was fake, like a mask slipping on. I know how this looks, but everything I've done for us. Lena, I said quietly, planning to take our parents' cafe for yourself isn't for us. Her silence was enough. You weren't supposed to find that notebook. I did. And now you're creating problems that didn't exist. Yes, because you created secrets that shouldn't exist. She stepped closer. Maya, if you push this, you won't like what you find. A warning. A threat wrapped in concern. But I didn't back down. Then I need to find it anyway. She stared at me, long enough for the weight of her silence to fill the room. You think you're ready for the truth, but you're not. Then she walked past me and left the cafe without another word. The moment I knew. As the door closed behind her, one thing became painfully clear. Lena wasn't just hiding a secret, she was protecting one. And whatever it was big enough to scare her. That night, as I cleaned the empty cafe, I realized the first cracks in her perfect story weren't small anymore. They were widening. And if I kept pushing, the entire truth, the one she hid for years, was going to break wide open. And when it did, she wouldn't be the only one exposed. Everyone who helped her, everyone who knew, everyone who played a part, would finally come into the light. And I was ready for it.
The lights were still off, the chairs stacked, the air cold and untouched. But inside me, everything felt unsettled, like I was standing on the edge of something I couldn't yet see. I kept thinking about what Lena said the night before. If you push this, you won't like what you find. Most people might take that as a warning, but to me, it was an invitation. An invitation to discover what she'd been hiding for years. And deep down, I knew this wasn't just about a notebook or a contract. Something bigger was happening. Something she didn't want anyone to connect. When I unlocked the office door, I found exactly what I hoped or feared to see. The filing cabinet was slightly open. Not wide, just enough for someone careless or rushed to leave behind. And Lena was never careless, which meant someone else had been digging. I opened the drawer fully. Most of the folders were in their usual place, but one tab caught my attention. Suppliers, private. Private? We'd never had a folder labeled private before. I pulled it out and flipped through. Receipts, letters, emails printed and clipped together. At first glance, everything looked routine. Invoices for coffee beans, flour, equipment repairs. But then I noticed something strange. Each invoice had two numbers, the real price and a second, higher price highlighted and written over the original total. That wasn't normal. That wasn't accounting. That was markup. Invisible markup. And someone was pocketing the difference. My breath caught as I traced the handwriting in the margins. Lena's handwriting. Notes like, "Keep this between us. Payment delivered. Use the back entrance." Back entrance? Payment delivered to who? Before I could piece together another thought, the front bell jingled. The door opened. I quickly shoved the folder into my bag and stepped out of the office. It wasn't Lena. It was Daniel. He closed the door behind him with a serious expression, one I'd never seen him wear before. "Good," he said softly. "You're alone." A chill moved through me. "Daniel, what's going on?" He looked around, making sure no one else was inside, then gestured for me to sit with him at one of the empty tables. "I thought about what you asked yesterday, about the ownership, about contracts." He paused, and I realized I should have spoken up years ago. My heartbeat quickened. Spoken up about what? He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he leaned forward, lowering his voice like the walls themselves might be listening. "Maya, your sister has been planning something for a long time, and she didn't do it alone." My breath paused. "What do you mean, not alone?" Daniel sighed, rubbing the bridge of his nose. "Your parents trust her. Everyone does. But she's been working behind the scenes with people who don't exactly have the cafe's best interest at heart." My stomach twisted. "Who?" "I don't know all the names," he admitted, "but there's one supplier, one you should know about." He slid something across the table. A business card. No name, no logo, just a phone number, and the words, "Special Arrangements." I stared at it, confused. "What is this?" "It's who she's been dealing with," he said. "Someone offering her support in exchange for future ownership." I felt the blood drain from my face. She agreed to something? Daniel didn't nod, but he didn't deny it. "She's been trying to secure the cafe for herself," he said. "But she can't buy out your parents. She doesn't have the money. So she made a deal with someone who does." The world tilted slightly. "You're telling me Lena partnered with a stranger to take the cafe?" "It's more complicated than that," Daniel murmured. "Whoever this is, they're not just a supplier. They're someone who invests in businesses, then slowly takes control." A takeover. A slow, quiet takeover. "And Lena?" I whispered. "She's the entry point." Those words hit me harder than anything so far. My sister, my own sister, wasn't just planning to take the cafe, she was offering it to someone else behind our backs. The betrayal tightened in my chest until it almost hurt. "How long have you known?" I managed to ask. He hesitated. "A few months." "Why didn't you say anything?" He exhaled slowly. "I wasn't sure. I didn't want to accuse her without proof, and I didn't think she'd go this far." He looked at me with regret in his eyes. "But now I see she's already gone too far." A name I didn't expect. The bell rang again. This time, Lena walked in. She froze when she saw Daniel sitting with me. Her eyes flicked to the business card on the table. In that moment, everything changed. Her expression didn't just shift, it collapsed. "Maya," she said sharply, "we need to talk, now." Daniel stood. "She's not going anywhere." Lena glared at him, then turned toward me with a look I'd never seen her wear before. Fear mixed with fury. "You don't know what you're doing," she whispered. "No, you don't know what I know." Her jaw tightened. She looked ready to say something, maybe deny everything, maybe twist the truth again. But then Daniel spoke two words that made her go pale. "Does he know?" Lena whipped her head toward him. "Don't you dare!" But it was too late. Daniel looked at me. "You should ask her about Marcus Hale." A name. Finally, a name. Lena stumbled backward as if the air itself had shoved her. "Daniel," she hissed, "you had no right." "Maya deserves to know," he shot back. "You brought him into this. You created this mess." I turned to my sister, heart pounding. "Who is Marcus Hale?" Her lips parted, but no sound came out. That was answer enough. "This isn't what you think," she tried to say. "Then tell me," I demanded. "Tell me who he is." Silence. Dangerous silence. "He's someone who helped me," she finally whispered.
Helped you do what? I pressed. Her eyes flicked to the office door, then back to me. To take what I deserved. She didn't elaborate. She didn't deny. She didn't deflect. She just looked at me with a stare that admitted everything without saying the words. In that moment, I understood. Lena had been building a hidden alliance, a secret network supporting her plans, a man named Marcus Hale at the center of it. And she was terrified I'd expose him, and her. Daniel stood beside me, protective now. You need to be careful, Maya. If Marcus is involved, this is bigger than you think. Bigger than inheritance. Bigger than the cafe. Bigger than sisterhood. Lena turned away, her shoulders trembling, not with guilt, but with anger at losing control. You shouldn't have dug into this, she whispered. You have no idea what comes next. But she was wrong. I did know. What came next was the truth, and I was no longer afraid to find it.
Lena didn't come home that night. I waited in the living room until the clock struck midnight, then 1, then 2. Each hour passing felt like a reminder that I no longer knew who my sister really was. She wasn't the girl who shared secrets with me under a blanket fort. She wasn't the person who promised we'd run the cafe together someday. No. She was someone with a secret partner, a hidden plan, and a silent fear she couldn't hide anymore. And the fear had a name. Marcus Hale. I repeated the name under my breath like a clue in a mystery I hadn't solved yet. Every time I said it, something inside me tightened, a feeling that this was only the beginning. By the time dawn arrived, I made up my mind. I wasn't waiting for Lena anymore. I was done waiting for her to tell the truth. I was going to find it myself. The first clue. The cafe opened at 7. I arrived at 6, determined to search for anything Lena might have left behind. If she'd been working with Marcus Hale, there had to be proof. A message, a receipt, a folder, something she didn't expect me to find. I started in the office. The same cabinet from yesterday's stared back at me. This time, I wasn't nervous. I wasn't hesitant. I opened every drawer with a purpose. And then, I found it. A manila envelope wedged behind a stack of unused menus. M.H. Archive. Those letters were written in Lena's handwriting. M.H. Marcus Hale. My pulse quickened. Inside the envelope were photocopies, mostly emails, some handwritten notes, and something that looked like a plan drafted months ago. I skimmed through them slowly, carefully. The first page. Phase 1, gain leverage. Phase 2, shift internal control. Phase 3, transition ownership under advisor guidance. Advisor. That word repeated itself several times. At the bottom of one page was a name. Marcus Hale, Business Advisor, Strategic Partnerships. So he wasn't just a shadow figure. He wasn't a criminal in the dark. He was someone who hid behind professionalism, the kind of person who convinced others he was helping while quietly steering things in his direction. Suddenly, the in-person invoices made sense. The altered numbers, the payment delivered notes. Lena wasn't stealing from the cafe alone. She was feeding money into a network Marcus had built. And she wasn't the first. One of the printed emails caught my attention. Your progress is steady. Once we secure the property, the final transaction can move forward. Secure the property. Not shared, not transferred, secured. It was all there. Their entire plan. And if they were planning to secure the cafe, that meant they wanted my parents out of the picture too. The betrayal stung sharper than before. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about everything our family had built over decades. My hands shook with a mix of anger and disbelief. How could she do this? I whispered. But a voice behind me answered. She didn't do it alone. I spun around. Daniel stood in the doorway, his expression grim. I took a step back, the envelope clutched tightly in my hand. Daniel, what are you doing here? He hesitated before speaking. I needed to make sure you were safe. Safe? That word hit differently. Why would I be unsafe? Daniel closed the office door gently. Maya, Marcus isn't someone who likes loose ends, and now you've become one. A chill ran through me. I didn't do anything wrong, I whispered. That doesn't matter to him, Daniel replied. What matters is that you know too much. I looked down at the envelope. Did you know about this? I asked. His jaw tensed. I suspected, but Lena didn't involve me directly. She avoided telling me anything important because she knew I wouldn't support her. So why help her at all? I asked. He paused, then said something I didn't expect. Because I cared about both of you. Both of us. The words softened something in me, but only for a moment. Daniel, you need to tell me everything, now. He sat down, his posture heavy. I worked with your father for years. I know how much this cafe means to your family. But last year, someone approached Lena, someone offering her an opportunity. Marcus, I said. Daniel nodded. He promised her success, independence, control. He convinced her that she deserved more than what she had. But how would she believe him? I asked, stunned. He sighed. Because he manipulated her. He made her feel overlooked, underappreciated, invisible. Marcus is good at this, finding people who want more, pushing them towards risky choices. My chest tightened with sadness and anger. Why didn't she talk to me or to our parents? Because Marcus convinced her that all of you were standing in her way. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. So she agreed to work with him, I whispered. She started small, a few invoices, a few decisions here and there, but once she stepped into his world, he tightened his grip, and by the time she realized what she'd gotten into, she felt trapped. Trapped. Not innocent, not purely guilty, just trapped. I didn't know if that made the betrayal easier or harder to swallow. Probably both. The hidden meeting. Where is she right now? I asked. He hesitated. I think she went to meet him. My heart sank. Today? He nodded. She left early. She looked scared. I grabbed my bag. I have to go. Maya, wait, he warned. You can't walk into that meeting. Marcus won't let you just expose him. You don't know how he operates. I don't care, I snapped. He took advantage of my sister. He used her, and she let him. But this ends today. Daniel stepped in front of me. I'm not letting you go alone. Maya, he said firmly, if you're going to do this, you're doing it with someone who knows what you're walking into. For the first time since this all began, I felt a flicker of relief. I wasn't alone. Not anymore. Daniel led me to his truck. The drive wasn't long, but every second felt sharp, like time itself was holding its breath. When the truck slowed, he pointed ahead. There, he said quietly. The old community hall. I frowned. Why here? No cameras, no foot traffic. Perfect place for quiet discussions. My stomach twisted. Has Lena met him here before? Daniel didn't answer, which meant yes. We parked behind a row of tall trees. I watched the building from a distance. Old bricks, cracked steps, dim windows. 5 minutes passed. Then I saw her. Lena. She stepped out of a black car, her shoulders stiff, her expression tense. She wasn't confident. She wasn't in control. She looked afraid. And then another figure stepped out of the passenger seat, a tall man in a fitted coat. Calm, clean, professional. Even from a distance, he radiated control. Is that him? I whispered.
Daniel nodded. Marcus Hale. The man Lena trusted. The man who twisted her ambitions. The man who didn't know I was watching him. Not yet. But he would, because today I wasn't just uncovering secrets, I was exposing them all.
From the cover of the trees, I watched Lena and Marcus walk toward the side entrance of the hall. They didn't speak at first. She kept her arms folded tightly, her head turned slightly away from him, and Marcus walked as if he owned the ground beneath his feet. Even without hearing a word, the dynamic was clear. He was in control, she was following. A part of me wanted to run to her, grab her wrist, pull her away from the man who dragged her into his world. But another part, the part that had seen her lies, her secrecy, her careful manipulation, whispered something different. She chose this, and now she has to face what that choice cost all of us. Daniel placed a hand on my shoulder gently. "When we go in," he said quietly, "let me talk first." I shook my head. "No, this is my family, my fight." He gave a small nod. "Then we do it together." We waited until they disappeared inside. Then we moved. Inside the hall. The hall smelled like dust and old wood. Sunlight streamed through high windows, forming pale lines across the floor. Every step echoed softly, bouncing around the empty space. We followed the faint murmur of voices until we reached a corridor leading to a smaller room. One door stood slightly ajar. Voices drifted through the opening. Lena's, sharp and tense, and another voice, smooth, steady, practiced. Marcus. I stepped closer. "I can't do this anymore," Lena said, her voice strained. "It's getting out of control." "It's only out of control because you're letting it be," Marcus replied, calmly. "Stay focused. We're too close to stop now." "I didn't think it would go this far," she whispered. "Oh, come now," Marcus said with a light chuckle. "You knew exactly what you were signing up for." My chest tightened. Signing up for what? Daniel glanced at me, silently asking if I was ready. I nodded. He pushed the door open gently. Face to face. They both turned immediately. Lena's eyes widened in horror. "Maya, what are you doing here?" Her fear wasn't for me. It was because Marcus was now watching her reaction. Marcus turned slowly, studying me with a cool, assessing stare. The kind of stare that measures a person, not as a human being, but as a variable. "So, you must be the younger sister." His voice was exactly what I expected. Calm, polite, unshaken. A voice used to winning arguments before they even start. I stepped forward. "I know who you are, and I know what you've been doing." He smiled faintly. "Do you?" "Yes," I said. "You've been manipulating my sister. You convinced her to betray us." The smile didn't fade, but something sharper appeared in his eyes. "Manipulating," he repeated. "I don't manipulate. I offer opportunities. She accepted them." Lena flinched. My heart twisted, but I kept my voice steady. "You offered her a way out of her own insecurities. You told her she deserved more, that she was overlooked, forgotten, and then you used that feeling to pull her into your plan." Marcus clasped his hands behind his back, a posture that suggested patience, not threat. "You're very perceptive, but mistaken. I didn't trick your sister. I simply showed her what she already believed." Lena closed her eyes, as if the words hurt. "Stop talking like you know her," I snapped. Marcus tilted his head slightly. "But I do know her, more than you ever did." That was the moment I saw red, not anger, but clarity. The clarity of someone who finally understands the shape of their enemy. "You don't know her," I said softly. "You just used her." The smile finally disappeared from his face. Lena broke. "Maya, please, just go home." "Home?"
I repeated, incredulous. Lena, you signed deals behind our backs. You stole from the cafe. You tried to cut our family out from the house. And you want me to go home? She eyes filled with tears she didn't let fall. You don't understand, she whispered. I didn't have a choice. Yes, you did, Marcus turned sharply. And you made the right one. Don't let doubt ruin your progress. Progress. Such a neat word to cover betrayal. I took a slow step toward Lena, lowering my voice. Then tell me the truth. What did he promise you? Lena showered hard. He said the cafe could be more, bigger, successful. That I could be successful. That I wouldn't have to stay in the shadows anymore. Her voice shook. You were always the favorite, Maya. Mom and Dad trusted you more. They listened to you. They believed in you. I was just there. My heart cracked a little. This wasn't just betrayal. It was years of jealousy quietly growing roots. I never asked to be the favorite. She knew. She said that's what made it worse. A painful silence filled the room. Marcus stepped forward. You see, this was never about me. It was about her need for independence. No, Daniel said firmly. It was about you feeding her doubts. Marcus glanced at Daniel with mild amusement. Ah, yes, the loyal family friend, always watching, never acting. Until now. Daniel didn't react, but his jaw tightened. This conversation was about to turn into a circle, the kind Marcus used to keep control. I refused to let him. Taking back control. I pulled the manila envelope from my bag and tossed it on the table in front of Marcus. His expression faltered. You've been sloppy, I said. You left enough evidence to expose everything. The fake invoices, the altered contracts, the payments. Marcus stared at the papers, not moving. Lena gasped, Maya, how did you... I found everything. All of it. Marcus's calm expression began to crack. Not fear, but frustration. This doesn't concern you, he said quietly. It concerns my family. It concerns me. Marcus straightened his coat. You can't prove those documents weren't created by your sister. I can prove the folders were hidden under her name, but I can also prove whose bank account the payments went to. His face finally dropped its smooth exterior. You accessed? I didn't have to, I interrupted. Lena kept everything. She trusted you, but she also documented everything to protect herself. Lena's lips parted. Maya, how did you... You kept notes, I said softly. You always did. Marcus turned to her slowly. You documented our arrangements? Lena backed away. I didn't mean to. I wanted a record. I thought if something happened... A record? He repeated, his voice now ice. You kept a record? Daniel took a step forward, protective. Maya, stay behind me. But I didn't move, because now the power had shifted, not to me, not to Daniel, but to the truth itself. Marcus faced us all, composed again, but with a cold edge. You're making a mistake. You think exposing me will solve everything, but it will only ruin your family. This cafe, he gestured vaguely, is nothing without my investment. I shook my head, slowly. No, you're nothing without people you can manipulate. A long silence stretched between us. Then Marcus stepped closer, but not threateningly, just enough to look me directly in the eyes. You don't understand the world you're stepping into. I don't want your world, and neither does my sister. Lena looked up, startled. He turned to her. Well, Marcus asked, you want to walk away? Lena trembled. Her answer, whatever it would be, could change everything. She looked at him, then at me, then at Daniel. Her voice came out barely above a whisper. I don't know.
Lena's voice hung in the air, like a fragile thread, stretched too far, ready to snap. I don't know. Those 3 words carried more weight than a confession. They weren't indecision. They were the sound of someone standing between 2 collapsing worlds, the one she built with lies and the one she destroyed with them. Marcus watched her with calm expectation, as if he already knew the answer he wanted her to choose. He stepped closer to her. "Think carefully, Lena. You and I have come too far for hesitation." The way he said it wasn't supportive, it was controlling, possessive, like she was an investment he wanted to protect. Daniel moved slightly in front of me, not blocking me, but shielding me, as if Marcus's voice alone was a danger. Lena's hands shook. "Maya, I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I just wanted a chance." "You had a chance," I said softly. "You had us. You had the cafe. You had me." Tears gathered in her eyes but didn't fall. "You don't understand how it felt, being the second choice, being ignored, being told I wasn't ready, being trusted less than my own younger sister." Her words weren't sharp. They were exhausted, broken. I took a step toward her. "Lena, I didn't choose any of that, and I didn't want it." She shook her head. "You didn't have to want it. It happened. Everyone looked at you and saw the responsible one, the reliable one, the daughter who could run everything. But when they looked at me," her voice cracked, "they saw a backup." Hearing her say it hurt, not because I felt guilty, but because I finally understood the pain she'd been carrying in silence. "I never wanted to overshadow you," I whispered. She blinked, startled by the honesty. "I know," she whispered back, and that made it even harder. A heavy pause filled the room. Then Marcus stepped between us, breaking the moment. "Emotions won't solve anything," he said firmly. "Lena, you made a commitment. Sentiment cannot undo an agreement." An agreement. The word made my heart drop, because agreements with people like him were never clean. Lena flinched. "I didn't sign anything final." Marcus's expression cooled just slightly. "You didn't need to. Your participation alone was enough." Daniel stepped forward. "She's not participating anymore." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "And who are you to decide that for her?" "I'm not deciding. I'm protecting her." Something shifted in Marcus's posture. Not fear, but annoyance. "This is becoming tedious." The breaking point. Lena looked between us all, torn. "Lena," I said gently, "I saw everything. The hidden invoices, the contracts, the notes you wrote, the meetings you planned. I saw it all." She pressed her hand to her forehead, squeezing her eyes shut. "I wrote those notes because I didn't trust him. Not entirely. Part of me knew it was wrong. But every time I tried to back out, he reminded me of what I stood to lose." "And what's that?" Daniel asked. Lena swallowed hard. "He said if I didn't follow through, he'd expose my involvement, that our parents would think I betrayed them alone, that I'd be left with nothing." My breath caught. So it wasn't just ambition. It was fear. Fear that Marcus would turn her mistakes into chains. "And did he threaten you?" I asked carefully. Lena didn't speak, but the silence was an answer. Marcus's voice sliced through the tension. "Threaten," he said calmly. "No, I merely reminded her of the consequences. Choices have consequences, Maya. You of all people should understand that." I stepped closer to him, not afraid, not timid, just steady. "You're right. Choices do have consequences. And now you're facing yours." He smirked slightly. "And what consequence is that?" I held up my phone. A recording symbol glowed red. Lena gasped. Daniel looked relieved.
Marcus's expression finally cracked. "You recorded this?" he asked quietly. "I recorded everything," I said. "Every word, every admission, every detail about your involvement with my sister." He took a slow step toward me. Daniel moved between us instantly. Marcus lifted his hands, pretending to surrender. "You think a recording changes anything?" "Yes," I said, "because the moment you try to silence us or push Lena again, this recording goes straight to the authorities, along with the documents you didn't think anyone would find." He studied me for a long time, then turned to Lena. "You said she was naive. You didn't tell me she was clever." Lena looked down, ashamed. "And you," Marcus added, "you didn't tell her how far you already committed." Lena's head jerked up. "What?" He stepped closer, locking eyes with her. "You didn't tell her," he repeated lightly, "that the meeting you requested for next week, the one where you plan to finalize the transition of ownership." The air felt like it vanished. I turned to Lena slowly. You scheduled a meeting?" She eyes filled, and this time the tears finally fell. I didn't mean to," she stammered. "I pressured me. I panicked. I thought if I agreed, he'd give me time to back out. I thought—" "You thought you could manage him," I said softly. She nodded helplessly. "Yes." "And now you see you can't." She nodded again, sobbing quietly. She finally breaks. Lena collapsed into a chair, covering her face. Years of resentment, fear, ambition, and regret broke all at once. "I'm sorry," she whispered, over and over. "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." I kneeled beside her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You're my sister," I said, "and I'm angry, but I won't abandon you. Not now." She looked up, her face wet. "Even after everything I did?" "Yes," I said, "because I know why you did it, and because this ends today." Marcus's calm demeanor finally slipped. "You think you've won something here," he sneered quietly. "This doesn't end just because you want it to." Daniel stepped forward. "It's ending because she's not playing your game anymore." Marcus looked at us all, frustrated, cornered, outmaneuvered, but still composed enough to hide it. "This isn't over," he said. "Yes, it is," I replied. "For you." He stared at me for a long moment, then turned sharply and walked out of the hall. The door slammed shut behind him. Quiet after the storm. For a few seconds, no one spoke. The air felt heavier than before, but somehow clearer, like the moment after thunder rolls away, leaving silence in its wake. Lena wiped her face slowly. "What do we do now?" she whispered. I squeezed her hand. "Now," I said softly, "we rebuild. We tell the truth. We fix what you broke. Together." She stared at me, unsure if she deserved forgiveness. But forgiveness wasn't the point. Healing was. "This isn't the end," I said. "It's the turning point." Lena took a shaky breath. "I want to make things right, whatever it takes." Daniel finally exhaled, tension leaving his shoulders. "Then we'll start with the truth." Lena nodded, and for the first time in months, maybe years, she looked like herself again.
We stayed in that quiet hall for a long time after Marcus left. The echoes of his footsteps disappeared, but his presence still lingered, like a shadow stretching over everything he'd touched. Lena wiped her face with trembling hands, not from fear anymore, but from the weight of everything she'd carried, hidden, and finally released. Daniel leaned against the wall, arms crossed, watching us with a mixture of concern and exhaustion. "So," he said softly, "what now?" Lena's gaze lifted toward me, filled with guilt and uncertainty. "I don't know where to start," she whispered. "I messed up so much. I don't even know how to fix it." Her voice cracked, and she looked down again, as if she expected me to walk away, to give up on her. But I didn't, Because despite everything she'd done, she was still my sister, and the only way forward was together. I sat beside her. We start by taking back our family's cafe. We start by cutting every tie he used to control you, and then we make sure he can't hurt us again. Lena looked up slowly. You'd really help me after everything? I'm helping our family, I said softly, and your choices don't erase the fact that you're still part of it. Her lips trembled, not with guilt this time, but with relief. Daniel stepped forward. If we're going to do this, he said, we need a plan, a real one. And that's when the shift happened. The fear in the room faded. The uncertainty loosened its grip. We weren't victims anymore. We were strategists. Step 1. Breaking the hidden chains. I placed the manila envelope on the table between us. I said everything we need is here. Invoices, altered documents, notes, timelines. It's all proof of what Marcus was doing. Lena nodded weakly. He convinced me to rewrite those invoices. I didn't realize he was using them to create leverage. Danielle frowned. Meaning, she said, he told me that if any of the money ever went missing, it would look like I took it, not him. Daniel exhaled sharply. That man is calculated. Lena nodded, tears forming again but not falling. He always spoke to me like he understood me, like he knew what I wanted, what I needed. And I believed him. I let him fill my head with ideas that weren't mine. I took her hand. It's over now. He doesn't have control anymore. But he still has copies, she whispered. Emails, records. He said he always keeps backups. That's fine, Danielle said. Because you have something he doesn't. What? Lena asked. The truth, I said. And the chance to tell it first. That was step 1. Expose everything before he could twist it. Step 2. Informing our parents. This part scared Lena more than confronting Marcus. What if they don't forgive me, she whispered. What if they think I betrayed them on purpose? You didn't betray them on purpose, I said gently. You were manipulated, and you made mistakes, but you're correcting them now. She shook her head. They trusted me. They always believed I'd help carry the cafe forward, and I almost destroyed it. Daniel crouched beside us. Lena, you're your parents. They'll be hurt. Yes, anyone would be. But forgiveness comes from honesty, and you're finally being honest. Lena nodded slowly, though fear still clung to her expression. I'll tell them, she said quietly, but I want you both with me. You won't face this alone, I promised. But before we could tell our parents, we needed protection, something solid enough to counter anything Marcus might try. That became step 2. Get ahead of the lie. Tell the truth privately before Marcus can spin a story publicly. Step 3. Exposing Marcus safely. Daniel tapped the envelope. You said you recorded what he said today, he said to me. I nodded. And I have backups, just in case. He gave a relieved smile. Good, because if Marcus tries anything, contacting your parents, contacting suppliers, threatening Lena, we'll have leverage of our own. Lena looked terrified. Do you think he'll try something? Danielle and I exchanged a look. Yes, we both said at the same time. Marcus didn't seem like the type to accept defeat graciously. He seemed like the type to regain control by making others fearful. But we weren't afraid anymore. So what do we do? Lena asked. I said, we make a timeline. We list everything that happened, dates, calls, meetings, and we attach the documents to each entry. Danielle nodded. Make it clean, organized, impossible to deny. And then, Lena whispered. Then, I continued, we send it to someone who knows how to handle situations quietly, a legal advisor, someone who can guide us on what to submit officially. Lena's shoulders slumped with relief. You think someone will help us? I nodded firmly. Yes, because what Marcus did wasn't just manipulative, it was unethical, maybe even illegal. And once someone outside sees this paper trail, he won't be able to twist anything without exposing himself. This was step 3. Protect ourselves by building a complete record and making sure Marcus knows we're not afraid to use it.
Step 4. Confronting the cafe's future. Lena looked up suddenly. What about the appointment he mentioned? The one next week? Danielle's expression darkened. He said it just to scare you. He wanted Maya to feel betrayed. But Lena shook her head. No, it was real. I did agree to it. Danielle froze. I took a slow breath. Then we cancel it, I said. You don't understand, she whispered. I agreed in writing. My heart dropped. In writing? She nodded. In a message. I didn't sign anything official, but I told him I'd follow through. Danielle closed his eyes, exasperated. Of course he saved that message. Lena looked sick. I ruined everything, she whispered. No, I said firmly. You didn't. You made a mistake, and now we fix it. But he has proof I agreed. And we have proof of how he pressured you, I cut in. We have the messages buried in your notebook. We have your notes. We have recordings. They'll think I'm lying. No, I said again. Not if you tell the truth openly. The truth was our strongest weapon now. Stronger than his deals, stronger than his pressure, stronger than his threats. This was step 4. Reclaim the narrative before Marcus could distort it. End the deal officially and on our terms. Building the plan together. Over the next hour in that dusty hall, the three of us built a plan, a real strategy that reached far beyond fear. We organized documents, we listed dates, we drafted a message for Marcus ending all contact, we even planned who would speak first. And as we worked, a strange peace settled over the room. Lena looked at me with a fragile, grateful expression. Why are you fighting so hard for me? She whispered. After everything. I squeezed her hand. Because you're worth fighting for. You're my sister. Even when you lose your way, you still matter. She didn't cry this time, but her eyes softened and something inside her shifted. Hope, maybe, or the beginning of healing. Danielle smiled faintly, relief warming his features. All right, we have a plan. But now comes the hardest part. I nodded. Going home. Lena swallowed. And telling the truth.
The sun was already sinking when we finally drove home. Its warm orange glow touched the rooftops of our neighborhood, but nothing about it felt comforting. It felt like a spotlight, pushing us closer to a truth we couldn't run from anymore. Lena sat in the back seat, staring at the window with empty eyes. She wasn't crying. She wasn't trembling. She just looked numb. Daniel glanced at her through the rearview mirror. "You'll be okay," he said gently. She didn't nod. She didn't speak, but I could see the way her fingers twisted around each other, the small, subtle signs of someone preparing for the hardest conversation of their life. I reached back and touched her hand lightly. "We'll do this together," I said. Her voice was barely audible. "I don't deserve that." "Maybe not yet, but you're trying, and that matters." She gave a small nod, the tiniest spark of strength returning. As we pulled into our driveway, I saw our parents' car parked in its usual spot. They must have returned earlier than expected. A knot formed in my stomach. This is it. Daniel parked. We got out quietly, like each step toward the front door carried 1,000 pounds. Lena paused on the porch. "I don't know how to say it," she whispered. "You don't have to say it perfectly," I told her, "just honestly." She took a shaky breath, then opened the door. The living room silence. Our parents were sitting on the couch sorting through mail, chatting about their trip. When they looked up and saw us, their faces brightened at first. "You're home early," Mom said happily. "We were just about to—" She stopped when she noticed our expressions. "What's wrong?" Dad asked, his voice immediately on alert. Lena froze. I stepped forward first. "Mom, Dad, we need to talk." Their smiles faded instantly. Dad put down the mail. Mom stood slowly,
eyes scanning our faces. "Is someone hurt?" she asked, fear creeping in. "No," I reassured quickly. "We're okay, but something important happened." Dad gestured for us to sit. Daniel stayed back near the doorway, giving us space but remaining present. Lena sat on the edge of the couch cushion, like she was afraid to sink into it, her hands clenched tightly in her lap. Mom sat beside her, touching her arm gently. "Sweetheart, what happened?" She inhaled shakily. I need to tell you something. Something I did. Something I'm not proud of." Mom's expression shifted, confusion, then concern. "Go on," she said carefully. Her shoulders trembled. I was talking to someone, a business advisor. He said he could help the cafe. He said he could help me." Dad's brows pulled together. "What advisor?" he asked. "His name is Marcus Hale." The room went completely still. Dad leaned forward. "Why does that name sound familiar?" Daniel spoke from behind us. "He approaches small family businesses, says he'll help them grow. In reality, he takes control from the inside." Dad's face drained of color. "And you worked with him?" he asked Lena quietly. She nodded, shame washing over her like a shadow. "I didn't mean to," she whispered. "I just wanted to feel important, like I mattered, like I could run the cafe too." Mom's hand tightened around hers. "Oh, honey." She shook her head quickly. "No, don't comfort me, not yet. You need to hear everything." Dad folded his hands, bracing himself.
"Tell us," he said gently. So she did. The confession. Lena didn't tell it perfectly. She stumbled, she broke down halfway through. She paused again and again just to breathe, but she told it honestly. She told them about the invoices she rewrote, the meetings she hid, the promises she made because she felt small, the pressure Marcus put on her, the fear that grew each time she tried to step away, and the shame she carried every time she looked at me and couldn't speak the truth. Our parents listened silently, not interrupting, not reacting with anger, just listening. By the time she finished, tears streamed down her face. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought he believed in me in a way you never did." Dad winced. Mom looked like someone had pierced her heart. "Oh, Lena," Mom whispered. "We believed in you. We always did." "No," Lena cried. "You trusted Maya. You gave her responsibilities. You praised her. And I got the leftovers." Dad leaned forward, his voice soft but full of hurt. "We gave Maya responsibilities," he said, "because she asked for them. You didn't." "I didn't know how. I was scared to fail. And then Marcus came along and told me I was being held back, and I believed him." Mom pulled her into a tight hug, smoothing her hair. "My sweet girl, you weren't held back. You were holding yourself back. We've always supported you, but we can't read your mind." Lena sobbed harder, gripping Mom's shirt like a child. Daniel looked away respectfully. Dad turned to me. "How long have you known?" "Not long, but when I found out, I tried to find the truth before confronting you. I didn't want to come to you with guesses." Dad nodded, grateful but shocked. "You protected us," he said quietly. I shook my head. "We protected each other." Mom finally pulled back from the hug, wiping Lena's tears with trembling hands. "Thank you for telling us," she said. "We're hurt, but we're also proud of you for stepping forward."
Lena's breath hitched. You're not angry? Dad exhaled slowly. I'm angry at the situation, at the man who manipulated you, at myself for not noticing sooner. He paused, voice trembling. But I'm not angry at my daughter. That was the moment Lena broke fully, but not in a destructive way, in a freeing way. She collapsed into Dad's arms, sobbing with years of buried insecurity pouring out of her. And for the first time, she wasn't hiding anything. Our parents' decision. After Lena calmed, Dad stood. We're calling a lawyer, he said firmly. We're reporting everything, and we're cutting every contact with this man. Daniel nodded approvingly. I know someone who can help. Someone trustworthy. Mom looked at Lena and me, her eyes full of love but also determination. We're going to rebuild, but this time as a family. Lena sniffed, wiping her face. Even after I almost ruined everything? Mom cupped her cheeks gently. You didn't ruin everything, she said. You just lost your way, and now you're choosing to find it again. Dad added quietly, your mistake doesn't define you. How you fix it does. Lena nodded, slow, heavy, but hopeful. And in that moment, the longest night became the first step towards healing.
The next morning felt strangely calm. The storm of confession, anger, forgiveness, and truth had already swept through our home the night before. What remained wasn't chaos, but clarity, a shared purpose, a united front. For the first time in a long time, Lena didn't wake up hiding something. She didn't avoid eye contact. She didn't walk with the quiet guilt she'd carried for months. Instead, she walked into the kitchen with a determined, almost nervous expression. Are we really doing this today? She asked. Dad looked up from the table where he'd been sorting through documents. Yes, he said firmly. Today is the day. Lena swallowed hard. And you're sure you want me there? Mom squeezed her arm. You need to be there. I nodded in agreement. This ends with all of us. Daniel had arrived early, holding a folder and a phone filled with the evidence we'd pieced together. Years of manipulation condensed into a timeline, organized, undeniable. The lawyer is ready to meet with us at noon, but before that, we need to deal with Marcus. Lena looked uneasy. We're not meeting him again, are we? No, Dad said. We're not confronting him directly. That would be reckless. Daniel nodded. We're doing this in a controlled way, clean, safe, and on our terms. Lena let out a breath of relief. So, what's the plan? I pulled out my phone and placed it on the table between us. This, I said, is how we trap him. The setup. Marcus expected silence. He expected fear. He expected Lena to crumble and return to him, desperate, guilty, obedient. He did not expect us to turn his own tactics against him. We crafted a message, carefully worded, emotionless, impossible to misinterpret. Marcus, I'm ending our agreement. I'm withdrawing from everything. I won't attend next week's meeting. Do not contact me again. Lena read it 3 times before sending it. Her finger hovered over the screen, shaking. Once I hit send, there's no going back. There shouldn't be, Dad said gently. Mom touched her back. We're right here. Lena took a slow breath. Then she pressed send. The message whooshed away, and the trap began. The first bite. We didn't have to wait long. Marcus replied 3 minutes later. His message was short, confident, and cold. We need to talk, in person, today. Lena stared at the screen, frozen. He didn't even acknowledge what I said, she whispered. He never would, Daniel said. He doesn't care about your boundaries. He only cares about control. Dad nodded. And that's why this will work. Lena looked anxiously at me. What do I say? I typed for her. I have nothing else to discuss. Marcus responded almost instantly. You don't want to make this difficult. I felt anger spike in my chest. He's trying to intimidate her again, I muttered. Mom squeezed Lena's hand. You're not alone this time. Daniel leaned closer to the screen. Send this, he instructed. Lena read the suggested message. Everything is documented. Any further pressure from you will be handled legally. Lena hesitated. He's going to be furious. That's the point, Daniel said quietly. Furious people make mistakes. She sent it, and this time Marcus took longer to reply. The ... typing indicator appeared, disappeared, reappeared. Finally, Lena, be reasonable. We've built too much together. Lena's stomach flipped. Her hands trembled. He's trying to sound calm, she whispered, like he's not losing control. Underneath that calm, Daniel said, is panic. Dad crossed his arms. That message proves he knows he crossed a line. We saved every message, every timestamp, every attempt he made to pressure her. We weren't cornered anymore. We were documenting. The second bite. A few minutes later, Marcus sent another message. Meet me for 10 minutes. I can fix this. We're not meeting him, Dad said immediately. Lena nodded. I don't want to. I typed another reply for her. There's nothing to fix. This is over. Again, the typing dots appeared. Then a longer message came in. You don't understand what you're risking. You'll regret walking away from an opportunity like this. You're throwing away everything we built. Lena's breath caught. Her hands trembled. He's getting desperate, she whispered. I nodded, and desperate people reveal who they really are. Daniel recorded the screen. Good, he said. Let him talk. Marcus's next message was the one we expected, the one we wanted. You owe me. I kept the end of the deal. Don't make me use what you gave me. Mom gasped softly. Dad's eyes hardened. That's it, I whispered. That's the slip. Marcus had finally exposed his true intention, using blackmail to keep her trapped. Daniel smiled grimly. He played his hand too early. Lena looked torn between relief and horror. So, what do I say now? I gently took her phone. You don't say anything. And for the next part, I messaged him myself. The line he didn't expect. I typed slowly, letting every word hit like a quiet thunderclap. This is Maya, not Lena. We've seen everything. Marcus didn't respond immediately. Then, this isn't your business. Daniel snorted. He's losing control. Dad leaned in. Keep going. I typed, you pressured her. You manipulated her. And you tried to threaten her just now. A pause. Then, you don't know what you're talking about. I sent the next message without hesitation. We have all the documents, and we have the recording from yesterday. That was the moment Marcus dropped the mask entirely. His next message came fast, sharp, and furious. Delete everything. You have no idea who you're dealing with. And finally, if you expose me, you'll regret it. Mom gasped softly. Lena's entire body went still. Daniel's eyes darkened. Dad took a steady breath. That, he said, is a threat. It was exactly the evidence we needed. A clear statement, a written threat, proof, undeniable and time-stamped of Marcus's behavior. And he gave it to us willingly. The trap springs shut. Dad picked up the folder Daniel brought. Let's go, he said. It's time. Lena stood slowly. Her fear wasn't gone, but it wasn't controlling her anymore. We're going to the lawyer? She asked. Daniel nodded. And after that, I said, we let Marcus know that the game he's been playing
I held up the phone, showing the message threat glowing on the screen. Is over. Lena swallowed. What if he comes after us? Dad placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. He won't, Dad said, because after today, he'll be the one scared of us. We walked out of the house together, united, steady, stronger than the fear he had planted. And for the first time since this nightmare started, we weren't running from Marcus Hale. We were walking straight toward justice. The lawyer's office was quiet, too quiet. The kind of quiet that could comfort you or warn you. But when we walked in, our whole family, plus Daniel, it didn't feel like fear. It felt like purpose, like we were finally taking control of a story that Marcus had been writing behind our backs. Our lawyer, Ms. Rivera, listened patiently as we laid everything out. The altered invoices, the hidden partnership, the pressure, the messages, the threats. She didn't interrupt. She didn't react dramatically. She didn't even raise her voice. But the deeper she read, the tighter her jaw became. When we finally finished explaining, she leaned back in her chair and exhaled a slow, controlled breath. This, she said, tapping the folder, is serious. Lena swallowed. I know, I'm so... Ms. Rivera held up a hand, gently. Lena, you made mistakes, but you came forward. You're trying to fix them. That matters. Now let's talk about what happens next. Lena nodded, relieved she wasn't being condemned outright. Ms. Rivera slid the folder toward her. You were manipulated, not forced at gunpoint, not physically threatened, but emotionally cornered. That still matters legally. Mom squeezed Lena's hand. So, what do we do? I asked. Ms. Rivera folded her hands. We contact him. Formally. Lena stiffened. I don't want to talk to him again. You won't, Ms. Rivera assured her. I will. But I need one thing first. She gestured towards our phones. I need every message he sent today. Every one of them. Daniel nodded. We saved everything. Ms. Rivera's eyes softened slightly, approval showing through her professional calm. Good, because what he wrote, she paused, choosing her words, is legally troubling for him, not for you. Lena lowered her head. And the documents? Ms. Rivera tapped them lightly. These show intent, a pattern, a plan. Combined with his threats, it paints a clear picture. And trust me, Marcus is not nearly as untouchable as he thinks. Dad exhaled with relief. So we're safe? He asked.
Miss Rivera answered carefully. Safer, but not finished. She leaned in. Because people like Marcus don't back down quietly. They push, and they expect others to fold. But this time, she looked at Lena, you're not folding. Lena nodded, her eyes steady. So the next step, Miss Rivera continued, is the showdown. The call that changes everything. Miss Rivera placed her office phone on speaker mode, her fingers hovering over the keypad. Are you ready for this? She asked Lena gently. Lena took a deep breath. As ready as I'll ever be. We all exchanged a look, a silent agreement that no matter what Marcus said, he wouldn't scare us again. Miss Rivera dialed. Each ring felt like a countdown. 1 ring, 2 rings, 3 rings. Click. Hello? Marcus's voice sounded smooth, controlled, as if nothing had happened. Lena? Miss Rivera answered instead. Mr. Hale, this is attorney Marisol Rivera. I'm calling on behalf of Lena and the entire Blank family. Silence. Then, I see. His tone sharpened. Not loud, but dangerously calm. "What can I help you with?" he asked, pretending ignorance. Miss Rivera didn't play along. "I'm calling to inform you," she said clearly, "that all involvement with Lena ends immediately." Marcus didn't respond. She continued, "We also want to inform you that we have documentation of your communications, including messages that can be interpreted as coercive and threatening." A long pause followed. Then Marcus laughed, a soft, amused chuckle. "Lena," he said, ignoring Miss Rivera completely, "you brought a lawyer into this? That's unnecessary." Miss Rivera wasn't having it. "Mr. Hale, this call is between you and me. You will not address my client directly." Marcus's polite mask slipped. "Well," he said sharply, "I hope your client also told you she willingly entered into a business arrangement with me." "She told me everything," Miss Rivera replied, calmly. "And we have evidence that your arrangement relied on pressure, misrepresentation, and fear." Marcus scoffed. "Fear? That's ridiculous. I helped her." "No," Miss Rivera corrected. "You used her." Silence. Then Marcus replied, voice low and cold, "You're making a mistake." "We're correcting one," Miss Rivera said. Lena clutched my arm tightly, but she didn't break. Not this time. Miss Rivera finished the call with finality. "You will not contact Lena again. If you attempt to reach her, visit her workplace, or interfere with her family's business in any capacity, we will file a formal complaint with documented evidence." Marcus chuckled again. "You think you can threaten me?" "This is not a threat," Miss Rivera replied. "This is a boundary, one you will not cross." Marcus paused. Then the poison finally surfaced in his voice. "You'll regret this." Miss Rivera smiled faintly. "I doubt that, Mr. Hale. Good day." She hung up. The room stayed quiet for a long moment. Then Lena whispered, "He sounded different. Afraid." Miss Rivera nodded. "Yes, because he's losing control, and he knows what comes next." The aftermath. The next few hours moved fast. Miss Rivera officially filed documentation, she forwarded messages to the proper channels, she drafted statements for our family, and she instructed Lena on how to protect herself going forward. When everything was done, she walked us to the door. "You've taken back your power," she told Lena. "Don't give it away again." Lena nodded, her voice steady. "Thank you." Miss Rivera smiled. "Now go home, rest, let the consequences fall where they belong." We left the office as a united group, not broken, not scattered, but stronger than we'd been in months. But Marcus's final words lingered in the back of my mind. "You'll regret this." Was it a threat? A warning? A last attempt to scare us? Daniel noticed my expression. "He's bluffing. People like him always bluff when the walls close in." Dad added, "He's not as powerful as he thinks." Lena walked beside me quietly. "You really think he can't hurt us anymore?" I slipped my arm around her shoulders. "No," I said, "because now he's the one being watched." She exhaled slowly. "For the first time, I feel free." And when she said that, I realized something important. We weren't afraid of Marcus Hale anymore, because the truth, our truth, was finally louder than his lies.